Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. It's my pleasure to review a book today from Marcus Scriven, who knew my brother, or at least was in contact with my brother, and that's how I came to know of him. And I then found this excellent book that he'd written called Splendour and Squalor, the disgrace and disintegration of 3 aristocratic dynasties. Now, I always like a juicy story, especially if it involves the aristos. This one does, and I really thought it would be worth reading because whatever your views about the various levels of class in our society, or in any society, because they do have them, it's always interesting to see what happens with certain groups. And therefore this one is a particularly interesting read. Now, I've given it the title Juicy Tales from the Aristos, but don't buy your guillotine yet. Now, I know I'm being a little bit flippant here, but it's a good read, Marcus. There we go, there's the front, there is the spine, and then there's a little quote on the back. I'll just read the quote. From opulent stately homes to the prisons of wartime Britain, from the House of Lords to Edwardian asylums, from the Ritz and the Dorchester to East End pubs, Splendour and Squalor tells the stories of 3 of Britain's most illustrious aristocratic dynasties and of the black sheep who disgraced them. Now read on. Now there's a little bit about Marcus there on the back, and there's a little bit of, I'll just take some stuff out there, there's a little bit of information about the book on the inside cover. This is the book itself. It's a very nice hardback. Runs to about 400 pages. It's been very well researched. The sources are listed at the back, and he's put a lot of effort into it, and notes and epilogues and various other things. And he's put a lot of effort into what is, I think, a most interesting set of stories. There is the front of the book, a little dedication there to us. Then there's some information. He's made a little reference there, there's a little dedication there, and then there's a content section which you can see. Part 1 Edward, Part 2 Victor, Part 3 Angus, Part 4 John. Then some family trees, always interesting again. Then lots of illustrations, and then you get the body text of the book itself, which is very well written, and as I've said, it is very well researched, and lots of nice photographs as well of the various families, various people, all the naughty boys and all the interesting things they get up to. All part of the human condition and all part of the way in which we do things. There's been a very good review of the book written in the Sunday Times by Christopher Hart, which was there some years ago now, in 2009. I'm recording this in 2017, so time has gone on, but it's still a very live book because people are always interested in what the upper classes get up to, and it's all part of history after all. So what do we think of the book? Well, I'd had some correspondence with Marcus, and I looked at the book and read it, and I thought, well, this is really interesting. So this is what I say. And I chatted to Elizabeth about it, so we put both the names on for the review. Whenever one hears mention of the aristocracy, we want the juicy and sordid bits, please. At least that's what the tabloids tell the working classes. And I'm not being snobbish here at all, just being very, very practical. So there is nothing like a dabble in the horrible histories department of our peers to get the full facts of the situation, if I can put it as crudely as that. And here we have it with Splendour and Squalor by the excellent and diligent writer Marcus Scriven, who's done a very, very, very professional job. Our reviews are not spoilers, so do read the book. Christopher Hart's splendid review, which I've mentioned, writes, "We all have some idea of what a proper English aristocrat should look like, borne along by a supreme sense of entitlement, never saying thank you, fearless in the saddle or on the battlefield, inbred, emotionally disconnected, and as mad as a hatter." Well, thank you very much. Well then, all the usual traits are here to the character-assassinate, a cross-section, the top, the elite of society. But there is some truth in the comment, naturally. Now, Atlantic Books and Marcus have produced a smashing read, I think, but the best bit is left for the end with the epilogue. The book itself is very well researched, fluently written to the highest standards, and it starts with family trees, as I've shown. Splendid illustrations throughout are wonderful. Then there's a short, succinct introduction, followed by 4 parts naming the subjects. I'll name them again: Edward, Victor, Angus and John. Finally, we have the epilogue with notes and sources, plus a rather overindulgent beginning and end quote from that old ex-commie Dennis Healy. I like Dennis, I did meet him, but he wasn't ex-communist. And he was Chancellor of the Exchequer, but never became Prime Minister, of course. Now, and as so, to the epilogue, described as wonderfully stinging by Hart, who comments that Marcus acidly concludes, when comparing members of the old order, the behaviour of today's life peers, convincingly suggests that the new elite has developed a self-regard and advanced sense of entitlement without the intervening centuries of uneven service and sporadic self-sacrifice. I'm glad you put that bit in. Reviewing this work after Brexit and Trump in 2016, and what the world makes of that I've no idea, it makes one wonder about this new elite, because underneath we're all much the same, except that the aristos' lives tend to be a bit more charted and developed because of the money and position of the time, and the interest in them because of who they were, and that sort of pecking order. So the final word, I think, is the final paragraph, which brings together some sense to the 3 dynasties chosen. I've not spoiled it by explaining it, because you've got to read the book. It is here, says Scriven, in its repository of deformities and oddities and misfits, that the aristocracy and its stud book may perform an enduring service, helping to unlock the mysteries of heredity. And of course many of us have links in one way or another to the elite in this country, or whatever you want to call them, as the globe is quite a little small place when you're researching your relatives. As I'm sure many of you will have found out, including all the black sheep. And we all have them, so don't think you're an exception that proves the rule if you do, because you're not. Now, the author leaves us with a tantalising question when considering the criminal gene, possibly providing evidence of what is currently deemed genetic drift. The lucky dip of genetic inheritance is less than random than it appears. And that may be the case. Now, there's a very fine final quote. At the very least, it will offer an indelible reminder that a rigidly patrilineal interpretation of any single person or family is wholly inadequate. Yes, which makes this book, the stories and all of our own descendants, such interesting subjects for gossip and for books. So well done, Marcus. As I've said before, we've all got our own family trees, and we've got our own stories about Grandad and all the other things, and supposed things going back over the centuries about what might have happened. We'll never really know, but it makes a good read. The publication date is 2009. Marcus, thank you so much. It was a real privilege to do the book, review the book. There it is again. There we go. It's published, as I say, by Atlantic Books. Just opening it in the middle. This is about Angus. Now, you see the pictures again there. Some very nice photographs. And a lot, as I say, a very large amount of detail has gone into this. Marcus is a real professional with what he's done. Thank you very much indeed. Do read the book. And I will look forward to some new titles from you, Marcus. Bye-bye for now. Bye.